It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. You are logged on to Wrestling Inc. across all the platforms to see and hear us do the thing. I am just LaBar here in Pittsburgh, PA. Down south in beautiful Puerto Rico is the beautiful Issa Demon Diva. And up north in Canada, in Toronto, it is former sports entertainment referee for more than 20 years. Jimmy, don't call him Corduroy, Korderas. Boys and girls, how are we doing tonight? Ladies first. Issa, how are you?
And I'm doing great. I think they hire an AI to make tonight's episode of Dynamite, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
You're not a big fan of tonight's Dynamite. All right. A little
No,
tease
not at all.
there. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
Oh, well, stole a little bit of my thunder. I was entertained for the most part, but at the same time, there were just things that just, well, like you said, we'll get into it.
Yeah, there's some ups and downs with tonight's Dynamite. And everything kind of is a but yeah, or how about this? I thought tonight's Dynamite just as an overall um, didn't feel quite as much
Oh,
like
of course.
Jimmy's, not quite as much of the 20 pounds in the 10-pound bag, but also maybe the bag was a little empty at times. So I don't know.
Mm.
We'll definitely get into it. Big thanks to everybody who's filing in on the live chat. If you're part of that, watching us here live Wednesday night. If you're listening to us or watching us after the fact in the archive, in your podcast feed, wherever you get your podcast, we also appreciate you. Thank you very much. And again, as always, please make sure you tweet any and all of us. Let us know where in the world you are listening, what you're doing, what you like about it. We really appreciate it. And of course, leave any kind of review and 5 stars and positive reviews if you could. It certainly helps us climb the charts. So going into tonight's Dynamite, we of course are. This is the go home show for one of their premium Dynamites, which is next week, the Grand Slam, when they go back to Arthur Ashe Stadium. This was a big hit last year when they did it. Of course, this time last year, CM Punk, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, a flurry of debuts coming over. So it was a hot time in the company. And boy, what a difference a year makes. Year over year, numbers are a little bit down, and certainly Adam Cole injured for right now. CM Punk injured and we believe suspended for now. Others like the Bucks, of course, we've talked about, and Kenny Omega not on screen because of all the fallout in real life after All Out. So just a very interesting time for Dynamite. So I was really going into this, guys, watching this episode, trying to see, okay, what is the final card for Arthur Ashe Grand Slam, and just what's the pace, what's the messaging. And again, I'll kind of toss to you guys, but kind of overall, and then we'll dive into segment by segment. I felt wasn't as, again, hectic and chaotic pace to the point of we're only going to focus on putting things and guys out there that are really going to set up for next Wednesday.
No.
But then at the same time, there was just some real kind of, as high as the roller coaster got with maybe the start and end of the show, when it got low, it got low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Jimmy?
no, I agree. It was too much of a contrast, and I hate to make this reference, especially up here in Toronto. It's kind of been like our weather. Like one day we'll get hot, very sticky, very humid weather, and then the next day it's chilly. You got to wear a jacket, that kind of thing. And that's how it felt tonight on Dynamite. There's like moments where I went, "Oh, that was cool," and then all of a sudden it was like, "Why did they go there with that?" You know what I mean? It was all over the map, for lack of a better term.
Issa, I know you're doing a live watch along, so you already kind of got like your rehearsal out of the way. You got your comments, you got your bullets loaded in the chamber. Go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't have fun. Yeah, I was entertained, I guess you could say. I am never going to be a fan of champions getting pinned on television, and that was a big theme tonight. Um, a lot of things didn't make sense. And as somebody that attended Arthur Ashe live, not only that, I went to All Out last year, and then they did one of the shows in between. I don't know if it was the Go Home, but it was at Newark. So I was able to attend that. And I just remembered the hype going into Grand Slam. It was huge. Grand Slam felt as special as All Out did last year. And attending it live and the magic that they created in the arena when they opened that show with Kenny Omega against Bryan. That's just something that probably cannot be duplicated again. Maybe if you do these two guys, but we already seen it. So maybe my expectations for Grand Slam are very high, but just being there and experiencing it live, it just doesn't feel anything like it. And I felt that way going into All Out too, where I didn't feel it felt as special and as hyped as it did last year. So yes, a year does make a big difference on how you feel going into these events. And I mean, I don't know if the backstage drama, all of the injuries, I felt like let's cut him a break for All Out because you didn't know who was able to come back when. But now we gotta cut a break for Tony Khan for Grand Slam because of all the drama that happened backstage. Like they need to get it together because they're not able to book shows with everything that's going on.
That's what I was gonna say. Depending on how lenient you want to be, you have to kind of maybe you feel sympathy for Tony Khan that like he in one fell swoop had to take 4 of his biggest talents, one of them is newly crowned champion, off TV, and I'm sure had to just blow up a lot of Arthur Ashe's, planned card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there's a.
Yeah, I was just going to say Corey Pride saying the show sucked, but good stuff set up for next week.
Yeah, exactly. It seemed like that was the focus, and if that was the focus of the show, they got their message across. There's a lot of good stuff set up for not only next week, but they're trying to set up some excitement for Friday's Rampage. I know for those interested in such things, the numbers for Rampage ratings-wise haven't been that great. They'd like to see that improve, and I guess that's what their attempt is to get the people on Wednesday night to tune in.
Yeah, of course, if you want to make sure you get onto the show here, into the mix and conversation, hit that $sign, put that money in there, do the super chat thing for Wrestling Inc., and that'll for sure get you to the front of the line. So big thanks to Corey Pride for starting us off there. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Dynamite coming from Albany, New York, and we kick it off with the first of 2 semifinal matches tonight in the Grand Slam tournament. The winner of each of these matches, of course, goes on to fight for this vacated title, not even an interim title. It is the vacated world title, as CM Punk was stripped of that title by Tony Khan, as he said that last week. So big deal here to start. Jon Moxley up against Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara getting his heat as he does, and of course, big part of the heat is his just obnoxious relationship with his fiance, Tay Mello. She comes out along with Anna Jay. They do a ref distraction. And then Ty gets a low blow. Well, it's meant to be a low blow. It looked more like a shoe up the ass than it was a low blow. But nonetheless, it does damage any which way. Nonetheless, and then we think that's going to be the end of it, but no, it's just a big false finish. Mox is able to kick out of that. Sammy, he misses a big swanton. Ultimately, though, Mox is going to hit this double arm DDT Death Rider driver, and he is going to advance to the final. So Jon Moxley, we start the show off knowing he is going to be one of the 2 men challenging for this vacated world title. Issa, did the right man win here between Moxley and Guevara?
Yeah, of course, 1000%. I gotta be honest with you. When the brackets were announced, as excited as I was, because I did think everybody in this tournament felt worthy, I didn't think for a second that I would see Darby or Sammy move on. I'm sorry, I just didn't. I didn't think they had a lot of chemistry. I'm sorry, I didn't like this match. I thought it felt sloppy. Out of all the matches that we see Moxley do since becoming interim, which they're counting as a title reign because they're calling him a 3-time world champ. So this interim title reign is counting as a title reign. But regardless of that, out of all the matches that we see Moxley do when he was defending this title on a weekly basis, with Jimmy and I said he was wrestling too much, this was my least favorite Moxley match that he's done in probably the last 8 weeks or so. I didn't like it. And I saw a promo by Sammy Guevara going into this match, very passionate, but I didn't believe him. And I don't know, maybe because the outcome was so predictable. I'm speculating here. Maybe he wasn't all in. It just felt like they weren't clicking. And I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I didn't like the chemistry here. Like there was something off about this match, and it felt that way the entire time for me. But yes, the right man did win.
Jamie, did the right man win? And did you feel any of the issues that Issa's talking about here?
Yes, I agree that I think the right man won. I thought Mox was the right decision because, yes, I understand the concept of elevating younger talent, but this isn't the right time for that. Sammy Guevara will get there, but this isn't the right time. They need someone to step up and be I don't want to say locker room leader, but be a big time star. And Moxley is a bigger star than Sammy Guevara right now, especially with the alleged suspensions or those that are not appearing on television, at least for the time being. Those being out of the way, you need someone to step up. So I think obviously the right person won here. As far as the chemistry in the match, it was okay. I had more issues with the other stuff, like, for example, the weirdness in the officiating. And I hate to keep bringing this up, but it's always an issue with me, especially being a former official, where when I see stuff that doesn't make sense to me, like, okay, the picture-in-picture thing is a good concept, unless, of course, you go to picture-in-picture, they're on the floor, and it seems like they're on the floor for the entire commercial break, But then when we come back from commercial, they do a spot where they tease a count out. Where was that counting outside the ring during the commercial break when they were out there for what felt like 3 minutes? You know what I mean? And then even later on where they did a double down and the referee was counting the double down. Anyways. And then here we have a distraction by the heels that lead to a false finish, which is okay. But then we'll get to it because it happened again later in the show in a different match. And it seems like that there's no communication between is there an agent there at the match, or they come back and say, hey, here's what we're doing. Is anybody else doing this? It feels like they're not doing that. And there's other examples of it. So I think there were a lot of things that, we talk a lot about tightening screws. There were a few screws that needed to be tightened in this one.
Yeah, I also agree. Moxley is the person to win in this, whether from the booking standpoint of his status to, you're right. And we'll talk more about it when we get to who Mox's opponent is going to be. When you're talking, okay, you got a little bit of a PR nightmare on your hands internally, and you need to kind of right the locker room ship, and you need leadership. Sammy's young. Sammy also was just involved in his own altercation with Eddie Kingston. So it's like that's like I think for all those things, both wrestling and inside baseball, Mox is the right guy. I will agree. I didn't even catch, and I will have to admit, sometimes when they go to the picture-in-picture and commercial, I'm looking down at paper, writing. I'm looking at Twitter, or bathroom, refrigerator, whatever. So I actually missed. But if they did that, that's an incredibly, insanely stupid spot to have them laying there for a minute and a half and then start to count. But good eye on you. The one that I know, the screw that I wanted tightened is, and again, just keep it simple on the distraction. They have both Ty and Anna come down the ramp together. And Anna stays ramp side, and they make Ty go all the way around to get behind them. Like, I always figure, like, have Anna come out first, let her go to the far side to get the ref, and that way Ty can just slide in from the ramp and do the low blow and slide out versus doing it, and then she has to, like, fall over her ass to get out and around, and she's in heels, and like, again, especially with the women when they're in heels, and I never understand that. You don't need both parties to come out at the same time. Let one come out of the crowd or production area just to be over here, just to draw the refs. That way, the other one can just have a smooth in. I don't understand why both would come down, and then it just makes it less. It just makes it less believable that the all-knowing ref who's out there to try to keep law is not going to. Yeah, that was my screw that I want to tighten. But.
No, that's a good screw to tighten. Let's put it that way.
But it wasn't even the screw. It wasn't even it didn't even lead to the finish. It was ended up just being a big fall. So I guess at the end of the day, whatever. Yeah. But so John Moxley wins. So John celebrating, and then they do a nice little teaser on commentary to go to commercial. And they say as Moxley has won, that now they're hearing some hubbubs going on backstage. MJF is demanding a microphone, and they cut to commercial. So good cliffhanger. Come back. MJF comes out, tell him to cut the music. He starts drawing comparisons of Albany, New York to this being how Moxley grew up. Talks about Moxley's book, which I've read. It is a very entertaining read. I suggest you do it if you get time. He says how Moxley grew up in the slums of Cincinnati, which is just like all these people. It's just poor white trash scums in Albany, New York. Says Moxley tries to put on a tough guy front. Gets his bike stolen as a kid. Has to put on a tough guy front. But MJF knows the real deal. MJF talks about how MJF's brain is more dangerous than Moxley's alcoholic disease. And that MJF is a demon that Moxley will not slay. Jimmy, they walked the line of real, but still kept it in the story. I thought this was maybe some of the best part of Dynamite. It got business. It continued the MJF return and the heat, but yet we still kind of have a shroud of mystery. And then there's more that comes here in a second. But just with MJF, there's still the shroud of mystery of he wants Moxley, he wants the world title. I kind of like the mystery here. Like, is he going to make himself seen at Arthur Ashe? Is he going to inject himself in the match? But this promo is pure fire.
No, it absolutely wasn't. And again, that's his strongest suit. The guy's a great talker, especially, his music hit. He came out, the crowd popped huge, and he was able to turn them against him without having to mention the other team like he did last week to get that heat, which is he doesn't need to do that. He's that damn good. on the mic, where he doesn't have to resort to putting over the other team so that their diehard or hardcore base fans could boo him for even thinking about jumping ship, so to speak. But that being said, yeah, this segment was straight fire, and I love the fact that he introduced what are they, stable on retainer,
The Firm.
Is it the
They
Firm,
were stable on retainer.
I like that he has a nice little nickname for him, and when he invited him out, he gave them the ring, and that I thought was a good move.
No, good call, and we'll go into more of that promo here with the stable in just a second. Issa, the MJF promo, is your scarf sweating with love?
Always for MJF. First of all, gimmick infringement. There's already a demon here, so we can be demons together if you want. But I mean, I guess MJF can do whatever, right? But him just cutting these promos directly at Moxley, it feels like he's spoiling the title match at Grand Slam. To me, it just feels like, okay, so Moxley's winning this whole tournament. Why should I care about whatever Chris Jericho, Bryan, or whatever happened at Grand Slam? Because MJF is making it feel like he's going after Mox because Mox is winning the title. I feel like as good as the promo was, and it was perfect location for it. You know me, if you are 10 miles outside of New York City, I don't consider you New York. So sorry, Albany. However, I feel like it's ruining the title match for Grand Slam. So that's my only critique. It's just like, imagine Moxley wins and you save it for after that. Because I would assume this title match will happen probably at Full Gear, or we could just be completely full. So it appears that he's doing that, and Bryan wins and throws a whole curveball in there, which I would assume that's when the Firm comes in. MJF is the kind of person that would always have a plan A and a plan B. And in his brain, plan A is, I can take Moxley. That's why he's telling us. Plan B is, if it's not Moxley, I got these guys ready to take on this fight with me. So I appreciate it, but I will say it did take attention away from the title match, because in my brain, I feel like Mox is winning.
Interesting. And then while we're doing the X's and O's behind the curtain, look, Moxley was supposed to be off. It wasn't until the suspensions happened that Moxley got called back in. So there's two schools of thought here. Is it a case of, okay, Moxley's, he's one of your biggest names. You gotta have him at Arthur Ashe involved in this main event, so you have him there and he loses and then he gets his vacation? Or does Moxley say, well, if I'm not going away for time off, if you need me indefinitely, at least make it worth my while and get the title back on me, and let's do something cool here?
I still feel this happens at Full Gear, me personally. I don't think whoever wins is gonna go on until Full Gear, which is their next pay-per-view, which is around the corner if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you know what? The Demon Diva always sparks something in me creatively with the pencil, because you got me thinking now.
She sparks a lot of things, Jimmy, for a lot of people.
That's true. But
have you seen the chat comments? Have you seen the Twitter replies to her? Some thirsty fellows out there.
I will plead the fifth on that one. But anyways, you talk about when will this happen with the casino chip and all this stuff. Leading into next week, it looks like Bryan Danielson is going into we'll talk about it.
Right.
Less than 100%. Maybe he finds a way to pull one out against Jon Moxley. And then, I'm giving away the ending of the final match too, aren't I? Well, anyways, and let's say, for example, he cashes in then on a less than 100% Bryan Danielson at Arthur Ashe at their big show. You never know, because they do tend to do things quickly sometimes and don't take their time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 1000%. They premature ejaculate all over storylines. But I will say, I mean, I like what you're thinking here. I guess I don't know. I still see it happening at Full Gear.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me get back into the stable.
Yes.
On retainer. Talk about premature. We were mentioning the stable earlier. I hadn't even got to get to the interest of them. All right. So we get the stable coming out. It's MJF's support system. Stokely Hathaway introduces. We have Ethan Page. We have the Gun Club. We have Lee Moriarty. We have W. Morrissey. Stokely says, that they will go their
Great
separate
promo.
way. Yeah,
Great promo.
they'll go their separate ways. They'll only be together when needed by MJF. So kind of already hinting at like this is just whenever MJF pushes the in case of emergency button. But he talks about how much he loves W. Morrissey. There's a great meme going around of him just hugging Morrissey. Morrissey just no selling him. He wants Lee to bring Honor back to the Ring of Honor pure title. The Gun Club, they are not boys. They are men. They want the tag titles. Ethan Page wants to rep his country and get that All-Atlantic Championship. And he says that if you don't run with us, run from us is the final words from Stokely Hathaway. So they finally give us some clarity of who the firm and yeah, I mean we've kind of we've been circling around it and just kind of pinpoint a little bit of what Jimmy said. MJF has this right to cash in at any point. It's basically it's their version of a Money in the Bank, so to speak. And he's got he's got 5-6 guys here backing him up. So what a compelling 5 or 6 guys backing up. And oh, by the way, let's remember if we want to harp on this, if Tony Khan wants to go in this direction, all of MJF's gripes, shoot, work, or otherwise, when he left was all these former WWE guys and this and that. And here we go with nothing. The final bit here at this point is Moxley's in it, and then you have Jericho or Danielson. So all former WWE champions are going in to try to claim this vacated AEW title. So, Terry Allen Jr. says NXT gold and white excitement.
I'm very excited for the future of NXT. Now TakeOver name's going to come back. I'm super excited about it.
Absolutely.
Justin, did you not think that Morrissey looked like Kid Rock ate Kid Rock, but instead of getting fatter, he got taller?
Wow.
He did.
He did. 1,000%. I could not stop thinking about it.
Wife beater and the long stringy hair.
Yeah.
It was certainly,
it was. I was like, Justin LaBar is gonna love that reference. I really, really enjoyed the promo by Stockley here. I thought he killed it. I love Jimmy's point, how MJF just got out of the way and gave him the ring. MJF doesn't need a mouthpiece. Protection, people to fight his fights. Yes, that's what he's done since day one. MJF has always surrounded himself around some protection of some kind. But I appreciated seeing Stockley do what he does best. He was so passionate again. Really, really just enjoyed everything that he did on the mat here.
I'm gonna throw a curveball of just in the fantasy world here real quick, as we just kind of talked about the firm and we talked about again looking maybe for Easter eggs, looking maybe for little hints of foreshadowing. Everybody, of course, in the lineup as Stokely goes down the line, very happy for the endorsement, happy to be there. Morrissey noticeably no selling and just kind of like he's there for the money, for the paycheck maybe that Stokely is providing. Wouldn't it be something if MJF does try to cash in, what have you, and he's got one defector in the group, and that's W. Morrissey, who, look, I was your hired gun once, way back when I went against Wardlow. I'm here now, and I'm not going to be just your hired gun. Because I mean, look, he's that would be the one interesting thing, is he's the one guy that the fans I think want to cheer the most out of the bunch that's in this. So that would be something interesting if they wanted to go that way. Because otherwise, if he's the big tall heater, if he's the big tall enforcer, he didn't act like he wanted to be there. He just acted like he's like, I'm here because I'm here. But very much I could see him quickly defecting from the group if again if they don't have the Bucks and Kenny and Punk for a long time, and you need to spice things up and have some swerves, bro, to keep things entertaining in the top picture. That would be something that I would be entertained by.
Are you saying that they might not be able to coexist?
Coexist is going to be a problem.
There you go. There's that word.
Yeah.
MJF is very keen on Stanford these days. He's taking a page out of the coexisting issues.
There you go.
Coexisting issues. All right. Moving on, we got Jungle Boy versus Jay Lethal. Jungle Boy pointed out an open challenge backstage earlier in the day. He wants to get back to business, get back to being who he is, a fighting competitor. Jay Lethal answers it. Sonya Dutt's screaming how Jay Lethal's a man and Jungle Boy's a boy, and he said it about 15 more times if he didn't catch the picture the first time. So we go to that match. Jay Lethal's just playing off of Jungle Boy's taped up lower back. That's what we're working, and Jungle Boy is selling. But finally, Jungle Boy does end up winning via kind of like a Cena STFU submission. Jungle Boy still wants Christian Cage. He's doing the poses. He's teasing the kill switch engage. Issa, I'll reserve my thoughts after you and Jimmy. What did you make of this match here?
Jungle Boy is always fun to watch in the ring. Sometimes the storylines that he's involved in or him cutting promos, I always let it get in the way. And then when I see him in the ring, I remember why. He's there. Like, he's very, very good.
Mhm.
I thought he had really good chemistry with Jay Leto. I just didn't think this made sense. I mean, there's nothing, as far as I know, set up for Jungle Boy 2 Man for next week at Arthur Ashe. So why are we using precious TV time right now on this when we should just be setting up the card for next week? Unless he's gonna do another open challenge. I don't know, but I talked about it on the Wednesday night before All Out, where they were putting things on television that I didn't feel like they made sense given what we were trying to build to. This felt that way.
Jimmy?
Yeah, no, I really get Issa's point, but at the same time, like you said, Issa, this could be setting up something for next week. This open challenge thing, maybe he makes an open challenge and we get a debut. Like you said, last year we got a bunch of debuts. Maybe this is one to set up another debut for next week. It's possible, but at the same time, as much as I enjoyed the match itself, and I think a lot of it had to do with Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal is just, I think, is just great.
So good,
so good. It's just. I felt like a match for the sake of putting a match on, filling TV time.
Yes.
But they've got a deep enough roster where they don't have to just resort to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe it's just the businesswoman in me, but the way that I look at it is that you didn't sell All Out. And I mean, you can blame it on whether it was the third wrestling show of the week or not. All Out did not sell. It didn't do the same buy rates. Grand Slam is far from where it was last year. Remember Grand Slam selling out last year? It's nowhere near being sold out. And I do think going into the week of the events without knowing half of the card is going to affect people that are going to want to spend the money on a ticket and make it out to these places. So in my opinion, it's like, even if you want to throw matches, to throw them on the week before, at least have a card that people can look at and know, this is what I'm going to get. I'm there. Because as soon as they announced, like when we got the teaser that Kenny Omega was fighting Bryan, those tickets flew off the shelf, and that was teased weeks before Grand Slam. So I have an issue with this last minute booking. And yes, I know we discussed it. There's a lot of backstage drama going on. They're booking on the go. But we had that criticism for WWE when they were booking shows 5 minutes before. I'm not going to not say the same thing for this, especially when you have such a big stadium to sell out.
Yeah, Issa, kind of stemming off what you said from the business aspect, I agree. Like, if there's nothing that's there to be advertised involving either of these men for next week, why give it the time you do? Then the next step would be, okay, if you're not going to fill the segment with something that's building to next week at Arthur Ashe, build property. You need to build, put your TNT champion out there. Put Wardlow out there, which is an over moment. Wardlow's got a new T-shirt, which is all the buzz on social media that it's a Pin Me War Day. Like, have him come out there. Well, he doesn't like to wear his merch. Do a local talent call and have a model that's in Albany and have her come out sporting I don't know, build things that you could just directly make money off. Shop your title investment, whatever. So that's just my little rant there. But to this point, I like Jungle Boy independently. I like him. I think he's got that undersized connection with the crowd, fighting spirit, underdog. Like him. Jay Lethal was full of charisma. Jay Lethal is one of the most talented, charismatic guys who never made it to the show that is WWE, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
However, here's my gripe. Jungle Boy's the more featured star right now. Jungle Boy is always best in my mind because he is so small, relatively speaking. I want him in the ring with guys that always make the visual sight obvious. That you're like, man, this Jungle Boy should never win this. And then when he does, you're like, oh my God, how did he pull that out? Jay Lethal's as short, if not shorter than Jungle Boy. Jay Lethal's is a little thicker, a little more muscle, but all I see is I just look at this, I'm like, this is just two small guys. I lose the
there
magic.
Was no big meaty man slapping me alert here.
No meaty men here. I lose the magic of Jungle Boy of what it is when he wins. And that was my problem visually, is like you got this whole you have every indie guy that you let come in do a dark match, and you have this whole roster. Put somebody out there that's a few inches taller for Jungle Boy to beat. That was actually my complaint. Was of all the casting we could have done, that's who we picked.
Good call.
Yeah, and Jay Lethal didn't need to take an L on TV, so I would have been
No.
Right,
perfectly okay
right.
with somebody else taking that L
Mhm,
just to kind of reestablish Jungle Boy. You don't have to bury
mhm,
somebody that's, that's kind of like somewhat established. I would agree with you on that. Just call a
mhm,
local, somebody from Dark or somebody a little lesser known.
mhm.
But while you're building Jungle Boy for Christian, he also has to get some credible wins under his belt because he looks like a chump at all out. Let's be real.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to pull up the roster so damn deep. I'd have to pull up and figure out who you could throw out there, but I'm sure there was options. Peter in the super chats going, any chance we see the Black Scorpion appear at the Rumble? We saw Ric Flair's last match, but nobody mentioned the Scorpion. Random thought.
Hmm. There's always a chance for anything, Peter. There's always never say
Yes.
never in the wrestling business.
And
Whether
it's the first Rumble that Triple H is booking.
right. So hey, maybe you're onto something, Peter. Maybe you're onto something.
Something about WWE just feels like anything is possible again. You love
Hmm.
to see it.
I like
Anything
when
is
they keep you guessing. I love when they keep you guessing.
Yeah, anything does feel possible. That's my phrase. I keep saying it all
Hmm.
feels. You tune into Raw or SmackDown, and literally anybody could
And
show up. Anything could happen.
the other interesting thing about this match with Jungle Boy and Jay Lethal, when you have the two talents in there that they had, when they came back from break, it almost sounded like the crowd was a little bit tuned out. They were a little quiet, which was unusual because usually that AEW audience is really hyped, and you could, you that's a big part of what they do is you hear the audience, and that's your gauge on whether they're connecting. And when you hear them quiet at AEW live shows, then you kind of go, what isn't working with them right now?
Yeah, interesting observation. We see a little package of Darby Allin. I forget if somebody can tell me in the chat. He was at one of I know it's not the X Games, but he was at some event,
Mm.
and he's going down he's doing crazy stunts, and he's going backwards off a bike and into a crash pad, and then that segues right into Matt Hardy talking about how he's the original part of Team Extreme and noting the crazy match that Darby and Jeff Hardy had months ago. And Matt's trying to get back to basics and trying to climb his way back up in AEW. I love Matt. It certainly feels like this is the third or fourth reset. Obviously, again, thought we were going to have a Hardy Boys tour, and then obviously Jeff runs into what he runs into. So Matt challenges, nonetheless, though, Darby for a match this Friday at Rampage. Jimmy, thoughts on this? And I'll just say it again. Darby is a crazy MFer. He is entertaining to watch him do these stunts, but I just constantly just go, the company's making Tony Khan, you're making an investment in this guy. This guy is one of your probably top 10 baby faces. I know this kind of adds to his mystique and his aura that he goes out and does these things, but it only takes one bad stunt.
Yeah, and especially in a business like professional wrestling, where one bad landing can land you in trouble too. And it does happen. Accidents happen in this business all the time. You see people get hurt. And this is increasing that. You're not only taking that risk inside the ring, you're taking the risk outside the ring as well. So you're doubling down on possibly getting hurt. So, I don't want to tell somebody how to live their life. If that's something that he normally does, I mean, that's fine. But when it affects your work, or if it ends up affecting your work, then it becomes a problem. And there's a huge opportunity, not opportunity, but a huge chance that could affect your work in some form or fashion down the road.
Issa, you're normally into the big meaty men slapping meat. What does Darby Allin do for you?
Absolutely nothing.
Not into that goth thing?
No, I think this was the weirdest way to set up a match. Also, I thought we had Sting to babysit him. Why is Sting letting him go and do these crazy things? Like, I thought that was the whole purpose of Sting AEW,
Sting
to
to
babysit
babysit.
Darby Allin. Like, so I don't even understand. I'm happy to see Matt Hardy back here. I feel like Matt Hardy has had such a weird. I mean, we can say this about a lot of WWE guys that came to AEW, right? But a lot of the things that have happened to Matt, and I'm a big fan of Matt, but the broken gimmick with the pandemic hitting. It's not the same without a crowd there, so they kind of got rid of it. Then we got the injuries, that whole feud with Sammy Guevara, and the latest what happened with Jeff Hardy, which I hope and pray that he's doing much better and getting the help that he needs. But it feels like Matt Hardy has taken strike after strike after strike in AEW. So we'll see where this goes, but this is just not a match that I was sitting here saying, oh my God, I can't wait to see Darby Allin against Matt Hardy. Did not have it on my bingo card. Did not have it anywhere near anything because I'm just not a fan of Darby Allin.
I hate to put it this way, but after hearing that from Issa, it almost feels like Matt Hardy is their go-to guy when there's another issue. And like right now where they have a few of their top stars who are not on television. What do we do? Oh, we got Matt Hardy.
But that's what they do with Darby. Like, I always feel like when they're setting up a big card or a big show, they forget about Darby and they're like, oh my God, we got to throw him in there. He's a pillar. I don't even know what you're building with a pillar this tall. But regardless, he's a pillar. So we got to put him in the card. And there we go. Then we just throw together a match for no reason whatsoever, just so he's in the card. Cheers. I'm sorry. Am I too real? I'll keep.
No. Hey, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
First off, I'm kind of surprised it's been as long as it is, and we haven't gone down the path of a storyline that Darby is Sting's illegitimate son. I'm surprised they haven't done that. So that's.
As long as he doesn't say I'm your poppy, yeah, we're good.
Look, Issa, to Rhea Ripley.
Any pillar, any pillars worth something. We don't want flooding. It's just to set the foundation up. We got
a storm coming. We have a tropical storm coming this week, and I need reliable pillars. Okay.
Yeah. Matt really has. If you actually think about Matt's career in the last couple of years, Matt really has been the victim to just unfortunate timing. Even dating back to he leaves WWE because obviously he's not that just kind of ended the way it did, and honestly, I think at the time when Matt left, I think Matt would have probably even gone down to what was then still the black and gold NXT, Triple H NXT. He probably would have gone to NXT and done some things, and it just didn't work out. So it comes to AEW, which is the hot thing to do, but it's a pandemic. So broken gimmick and empty arenas, not so much. House of Hardy, or not House of Hardy, Hardy Family Office, whatever. That doesn't really whatever. And then all of a sudden, Jeff becomes a free agent. Now we got the Hardy Boys, one of the best tag teams ever to do a tour. Jeff. Personal problems. Now it has just been, and then oh, by the way, you look at it and it's like, God, if Matt would have been able to stick it out in WWE, and then like many others could do that in their hypothetical. Now Triple H is in charge. Matt could be there right now, working a part-time schedule and also being a producer, maybe. Who knows?
I did enjoy Matt's feud with Chris Jericho. I think that's the one thing that he's did, and that was his first feud when he was still broken. I actually really, really enjoyed that storyline and the throne, and Jericho released the house and a bunch of chihuahuas coming out. Like, I was so entertained by that. But outside of that, I really feel for Matt Hardy and the way that his run has gone in AEW, and I want it to be better. And at the same time, I want him to be broken. So I struggle with this every day.
Struggle is real. All right, well, Darby versus Matt this Friday. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a valid thing. You have a veteran in Matt Hardy, who is, arguably walked away from a WrestleMania and been the best match of the night. A Matt Hardy who's just Matt freaking Hardy, and you have him, and boy, you just lost again. Temporarily, you've lost some big names to injury or suspension. Might not be a bad time to heat him back up if you need to.
No, and like you said, he is a veteran who is very knowledgeable and someone you can go to for advice and can give some great advice to some of these younger talents, but the younger talents have to seek it out.
Matt's podcast drops.
Some of them don't want any advice, Jimmy. Please don't bring that up. CM Punk might go cry somewhere.
Okay.
No advice, Jimmy. No advice.
Nope.
No advice. No advice.
No advice. Go, man. It's a target, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy
we don't have Target up in Canada anymore.
Oh, you don't?
Not Puerto Rico either. So literally when he said that, I thought he was like a moving target. I was like, he's talking about them being hitmen, because being a hitman is a hard job.
No, here in Pittsburgh, I mean, you have Targets and Walmart, and it is Target all day. Target is where you go. You don't screw with Walmart's. Walmart's is a well, so much for getting Walmart as a podcast sponsor. Walmart's just a social mess to walk into.
Yeah, no, kayfabe, brother.
Matt Hardy's got a new episode of his podcast dropping this Friday. I got a little hint, wink, that it's definitely one you want to catch. this Friday with
Nice.
what's talked about and guests. All right. Where are we at? Okay. Powerhouse Hobbs comes out. He's up against Albany's favorite son, Matt DiMartino.
This is what they should have given to Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, weird segue. I just did a cheap plug for Matt's podcast, which is co-hosted by a wonderful friend John Alba. All I could think was Matt DiMartino looks like John Alba. If John Alba stood there with a shirt off in his boxers, that's what Matt DiMartino looks like. With John Alba.
I can't unsee this now. I can't stand you.
I hope John sees this. Powerhouse Hobbs puts away Matt DiMartino with a spine buster. Somewhere in that happening though.
Why was he bleeding?
Right, he was bleeding from his mouth. Did DiMartino get a stiff shot in? Did he get one in for Albany?
Yeah.
He pulled a Moxley. He just started bleeding out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever.
Anybody in the chat, like, I think DiMartino tried, like, did he actually get, because Powerhouse Hobbs?
No, he didn't get any offense in, unless when he went down, he must have hit. Like, that's what I was thinking. I gotta go back and rewatch it, but I didn't see this guy get any offense on him.
Unless Hobbs like Goldberged himself in his mouth, because after the match.
Goldberg himself.
He trash talks Ricky Starks, basically saying that the Starks chapter's over. He wants somebody new. Starks comes out of the crowd. Starks then takes the mic, hits Hobbs in the face, and then
but commentary said,
commentary says, "Oh no, Hobbs is bleeding." I'm like, well, no, he was bleeding beforehand. I'm like, did Hobbs purposely do something so he can manufacture blood for Starks' mic shot? Like, I don't know what happened here.
Maybe
do you
there
think
was
he took a blood capsule, and then it exploded too soon.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
Yeah, I don't know, but
what is the second premature ejaculation reference tonight? What is with you?
Wow, it's a tough Wednesday night, I'll tell you.
Did I mention I got no sleep last night, so I'm delirious.
I thought you were gonna say, did you mention you had a bad experience last night? You're like, what the hell?
No,
hey, don't get it started here, Justin. Don't get it started. Don't light the fire. Don't fan the flames. Let's put it. You know what? I didn't mind that they had this segment. The only issue I had was Ricky Starks coming through the crowd. I didn't like it because who else comes through the crowd when they enter the arena?
Moxley.
Exactly. So now anybody can enter through the crowd? No. If you have one guy on the show who comes in through the crowd, let him be the guy who comes in through the crowd.
Well, and also, I mean, I didn't really even that didn't bug me as much, but I mean that's a fair point. But what kind of got me was like. So Starks lost to Hobbs, and we hadn't seen him since that. So it's been a week and a half. But he's coming through the crowd with an AEW security guy escorting him down. But then he has to get past security that's at the ring. Why is there security? He's still an active member of the roster. Like what? Right. He's not. He's like, if anything, when MJF showed up at All Out, there should have been the National Guard should have been called in. Like, I didn't understand that. Like, why is Ricky Starks, doing his best Rock impersonation? Why has he got security following him around to stop him?
How dare you try to connect dots?
I did catch that. I was like, okay, he's coming down with security. Why is he trying to avoid security, making his way to the ring? I didn't think that made sense. I like the visual of the crowd standing up when they saw him. I thought that was a really cool visual for him. But at the same time, unless you're giving him a big win over Hobbs sometime in the future, don't do these things, because now you're getting cool visuals. The kid's getting over. Everybody's loving him. And if you're going to squash him in 2 minutes at your next pay-per-view, then we don't need to be doing these moments, because you're just killing a lot of momentum for him.
So another, they didn't make a match, I don't believe. So another segment that just kind of.
Just a lot of things didn't make sense tonight, like Casey says in the chat.
What Casey said? Nothing tonight made sense. Yeah, she did. Thank you, Casey. There's been a lot of stuff in the chat. Issa, you're a favorite of the chat. People, by the way, I guess cheap plugs. I've seen a bunch of. They weren't super chats. That's why they didn't get on the screen. People, I'm greedy. But I did see in the chat a lot of love for your OnlyFans. So there you go.
OnlyFans.com/NYC Demon Diva.
Have you took advantage of the? Have you done a photo shoot with the scarf?
I have.
Okay.
Go check it out over there.
Well, I'm not one of your.
Not you. I'm talking to the chat.
I'm not subscribed to it. that's why I had to legitimately ask. Have you gone into that gimmick and done the
I have. It was a great photo shoot too. Look great.
Yeah.
Go any super chat money left over, go put it towards the only.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Lucha Brothers, your 2/3 of your Death Triangle, or your trio champion, that is Death Triangle,
I don't
up
know talk about this.
against up against Swerve and Our Glory, your current tag champs. Real quick, let's just talk about Swerve and Our Glory. So Swerve is getting just a ton, like Swerve himself is getting a ton of heat. Keith Lee, they still kind of want to cheer, but then they collectively don't want these guys to be the tag champions because of the challengers they're going to have next week. Jimmy, what do you, before even did we break down the match and all the things that happen off of this, what's your take right now on Swerve and Our Glory?
I'm still not on board with him. I'm just not feeling it yet. Maybe I need a little more time. Maybe that's what it is. But right now I am not feeling it. And I wish I could put a better spin on it, but just they're not working for me right now.
Jimmy, I'm going to ask you another hard question. I'll see if you have the bullet for it, and I'm going to see if he has the bullet for it. I'm going to play kind of a little bit of a Keith Lee. When he showed up at AEW, there was he was one of the biggest from the unhappy WWE crowd that was like, this guy didn't get used to his fullest. He was a stud in NXT. He had all this potential written on him. Vince squandered it, screwed with his music, screwed with his ring gear, called him a bear cat, blah, 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 blah. Keith Lee shows up at AEW, huge response, regenerate his career. Since he's been in AEW, I mean, he's holding a title technically.
Yeah, for 5 minutes.
But since he's been in AEW,
episode.
since he's been in AEW, you know, they've saddled him in a tag team, which to me was kind of like, do they not trust him as a singles guy for whatever reason? And now the crowd's kind of like revolting again. Like, is this just is this just unfortunate timing for Keith Lee, or is something being exposed that Keith Lee is not the top guy that we thought maybe he was supposed to be,
or Keith Lee thought he was supposed to be? But there's something amiss here. And so again, this is one of those things I can't put my foot on, whether it's the crowd that is just not seeing it, or in him, or is it the office that is not seeing it? Like you said, putting him in a tag team, not trusting him as a singles competitor right now, or is it just modus operandi over there where, hey, we like to put people in groups?
Yeah,
like which seems to be the order of the day over there. And I think Keith Lee is not looking. He didn't seem that happy tonight, anyway. So if you're trying to read between the lines and look into his eyes, you know what they say sometimes: the grass always looks greener on the other side until you get over there and take your shoes off and walk through it.
Or it looks great, and then you get over there, and all of a sudden there's a drought.
Apparently, it's greener where you water it. CM Punk, All Out Press Scrum 2022.
Oh.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, it looks green, and then all of a sudden, drought comes and it gets brown, and
there you go.
And then somebody new over there that you just the yard you just left, all of a sudden has a new greenskeeper, and he comes in and he waters it a lot better.
And there's a good point by Night One in the chat where, like we saw in NXT, that he has the capability of being a singles, star in the ring. It is there. It's just, I guess they figured, we'll put him in a tag team.
I'm gonna run with my analogy. Triple H is a better greenskeeper. He's gonna make the grass greener again.
Like I always said, Triple H is the guy because I think he's the guy who can mesh old school psychology with new school rules, if you know what I mean. I think he could take the best of both worlds and blend them together.
Issa, you Keith Lee fan?
No, I've never been a Keith Lee fan, but I appreciated his talent. If you search Keith Lee in search for a GIF on Twitter, so many great NXT moments of him come up every time that he used to sneak behind
Adam Cole,
him freaking yeeting Adam Cole, like sneaking on Finn Balor. Like, there was so many moments. My issues with the booking of Keith Lee actually started in NXT when he held both titles and then he relinquished one. So you completely diminished this North American Championship. You couldn't defend it on the next pay-per-view. I never agree with that. It felt very heelish of a move to do. Like, you finally crowned the first double champ and he lasts like a whole 5 minutes, right? I have a hard time judging his main roster run because I believe he had an injury and then he went through that very serious situation that he had after getting COVID. So we don't even know if he felt 100% before the release happened, but I do know that he had a very serious health condition like as a result of COVID. But I remember him having that match, Survivor Series, that moment with Roman Reigns. I'm never gonna forget that. I'm never gonna forget Brock Lesnar's reaction to him coming out at the
who is
Royal
this?
Rumble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brock.
big boy, right? So
Right.
although I'm not a fan, when you say the name Keith Lee to me, every single moment that comes to mind is a WWE moment. Nothing outside of his debut comes to mind other than if we're talking AEW, his debut, and then an audible should have been called at All Out. And those are not good things to go by.
Sheed Black in the super chat. Swerve and Our Glory, a good tag team. They've had great matches lately. So Sheed's in it.
Okay.
We'll get into the match they had here in a second. We just want to kind of talk for a few minutes about Keith Lee. Julius says, I think Keith's friend passed earlier this week. Okay, I don't know anything about that, but
No, I don't either.
Thoughts and prayers if that's the case.
If that, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People in the this was not a super chat, but people in the chat giving Peter his reaction. Peter says Keith Lee is basking in the Robins.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Peter's on fire tonight.
Ping pow po. All right. So we get this match here. The funniest moment of this match actually is the Keith Lee moment. Penta's got Swerve pinned, and Keith Lee takes Phoenix and tosses him through the ropes to break the pin up. It was actually a really cool spot.
Yeah,
we then see and then we see a sequence here. Phoenix springboard Spanish flies Swerve off the top, and then Penta jumps off Phoenix's back to Canadian Destroyer on Lee, but it's the false. It's a 2 count, and the crowd's chanting "Holy shit!" But I'm like, oh my god, that's the biggest spot that you could do. Now, obviously, that's not the finish because the Keith Lee and company end up winning. The heels end up winning. Keith Lee basically wins with doing a John Cena attitude adjustment. I don't know if he has a name, something else. So Keith Lee and Swerve stand tall. They're still tag champions. The Acclaim come out. Man, the Acclaimed are over like Rover. You watch crowd reactions. That hit of the music plays. Everybody is on their feet and excited.
Everybody loves the Acclaim. Say it.
Everybody loves the Acclaimed. They're all pumped for the music. They want to hear Max rap. He then cuts his own music off. They all are they're pissed. That's part of the ticket price admission is they want to hear Max Caster rap. He's not interested in rapping. He's basically telling Swerve, if you interrupt my rap like you did in the past, I'm going to kick your ass. They're going to be going up against Swerve and Our Glory next week in Arthur Ashe. And man, if Tony Khan's got ears, he knows what he has to do here.
Absolutely.
I also feel like that's one of the main reasons why it's hard to get behind Keith Lee and Swerve as a tag team is because you also put them in situations where it's just like they won the title when nobody expecting them to win it, right? And they took the titles from fan favorites to a team that kind of just got pushed together. In addition to that, you have moments like All Out where everybody was behind the Acclaim and then they don't win, and now you have them pinning champions that we just crowned last week. And I was doing my best to put behind the backstage drama and just take this week as a brand new week, right? And it's just like, okay, so that triangle is your backup plan, and you just made it so clear. Like, these titles were supposed to be the Elite. You don't know what to do with them, and you completely buried them on TV. I hated this.
Jimmy?
Wow.
Good match.
No, the match is all right. Again, I will refer to Justin's point about that false finish there with the twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash and the kick out. I mean, sometimes I get it. There are times when you kick out of somebody's big move, but it happens far, far, far too often with huge moves like that one that we saw there. What was it again? It was a spring. It was off the top rope. So a springboard Spanish fly. And then as Phoenix got up, Penta used Phoenix, jumped off Phoenix's back to get the elevation to Canadian destroy Keith Lee. Yeah. See, there are times when a big move is to be kicked out of, but I think it's happening far too often nowadays, and this was a perfect example of it happening too often. There was nothing wrong with somebody making the save there. You could have done the same finish and have someone make the save. That's all it takes. It's not a big deal.
Spilling water all over myself.
That's right.
Yeah, look, there are two finishing moves I mean, I've been watching. We all have wrestling my whole life. There are 2 finishing moves in the last 20 years that I can remember where I was the first time I saw it, and I went, "Oh my god!"
Mm-hmm.
The first one of them, and this is in the order. One of them is Mr. Kennedy on, I don't know if it was Sunday Night Heat or Velocity, where it was at that point, but it was basically just one of the B-level shows, and he did his Lambo leap to Funaki, which is basically a fireman's carry front roll, but it was off the second rope. And I remember the crowd went, oh, and I went, oh, and I became a huge fan of Kennedy, blah, 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 blah. The other one is the first time I saw, I think, P.D. Williams do the Canadian Destroyer. And I went, and again, had another lost my breath, lost my speech moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate seeing a Canadian Destroyer used for a false finish.
Right.
I felt that way when Bad Bunny hit a Canadian Destroyer. I've never been prouder in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
It was impressive that he did it.
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah.
But I hate.
I actually like the Canadian Destroyer that he hit on Riddle at the Royal Rumble more than the Morrison one. If I'm being honest with you, I thought Riddle did a better job at selling it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a personal shot to me. I hate it. I think it is just a waste.
Yeah.
And if it's not,
but also to your point, Justin, they did make me look forward to next week's match for sure. And every week that Billy Gunn comes out, I get more and more jealous of this guy.
Yeah, but what does that do to your new trios champ, who are your backup plan? They're your plan B. They're like you guys stood up for a date and you text that person you haven't texted him forever because you don't want to be dressed up and left home alone. That's what that triangle is, and they felt that way tonight, and it's horrible.
Well, we'll get to more disrespect to the trios champs in just a second here. Issa, which shirt are you more likely to buy and wear in public? Pin me, War Daddy, or scissor me, Daddy Ass?
Oh, pin me, War Daddy, for personal reasons.
Neither for me. Okay, so this is I don't always end up including these backstage, these quick backstage ones. I don't always include them. Sometimes it's just like there's so much in these shows, and
too many.
I don't want this podcast to drag, and so whatever. I had to make note of this because I even use it as my tease on Twitter because it was just so freaking bad. And again, if WWE did something this bad, which they wouldn't because they would never do a live backstage like this because they would know how the margin of error is so thin right there in the frame of the camera. So I'm going to call it out. They go backstage, Alex Marvez, who he's seen the Death Triangle, Penta and Phoenix they're beaten up but just lost his match, and then Pac's trailing them, and our Alex Marvez, crackerjack journalist, Pac, what's next for you guys? What this hiccup or whatever he says, and Pac's like, hiccup, need I remind you, we're still trios champion. I'm still all Atlantic champion. He's putting himself over, and then Orange Cassidy proceeds to come in and do like the Superman knockout punch, but they did this live, and the camera is right here on Pac's face, and Cassidy's fist comes in, and it missed. It was the worst looking punch.
So weak. So weak.
And then Pac, who is the bastard Pac and all this stuff, Pac takes the big bump, eyes glazed over. He's knocked out long enough for Orange Cassidy to come down and cut a promo on him. I had to rewind this twice because I was like, it couldn't have been as bad as I thought it just looked once.
Oh, it was.
And I watched it 2 and 3 times, and I said, how did we let this happen? It was bad.
I mean, they let Ruby Soho hang out there until the door hits her. They're very bad at producing these backstage attacks. Very bad.
And not only that, again, a backstage attack. Did we not see a backstage attack earlier in the evening during a promo when someone was being interviewed backstage? Again, stuff that is being done far too often.
Yeah. Do backstage stuff, but just do them tape. I mean, I know that this is a case of where they wanted to show Pac and crew coming from the match and battle scars and coming through, so it's easier to go live than this But man, if you want to have somebody get punched 3 inches from the camera, you have to have that stuff in the. You have to have it in the can. You can't do that. That was and again, Orange is not trying to knock the guy out legit, but
right.
If you can't throw a good enough working punch with the camera right there, find something else to hit him with. If you're determined to have Orange Cassidy, knock him out. I don't know. Find something else to hit him with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Agreed.
Big problem with this. All right, it's 9:30. It's time for the women's match. Tony Storm and Athena versus
back to normal.
Britt Baker and Serena Deeb. Some assistance of Britt with the chair. That helps Deeb get the pin. So Britt and Serena get the pin and victory. Post-match, Athena starts attacking them. Britt does a curb stomp. Excalibur actually kind of hesitates to call it a curb stomp, just says a stomp. It was very Seth Rollins-esque. And then Jamie Hayter comes out, and like we last saw, the Hayter and Britt have a problem. Hayter does not attack Britt. Hayter attacks Tony Storm, but then kind of gets in Britt's face. And so Britt's screaming, "I'm sorry." So a little bit of chaos everywhere, but you're the resident diva on the panel here. How did the that was a death stare. That was a death stare of me even asking you.
Wow.
First of all, you didn't even talk about the pre-match promo backstage, and I get it because there's so much going on backstage.
Go ahead.
That
go
whole
ahead,
I eat an apple a day to keep the DMD away is the lamest freaking line I have ever heard in my entire life, and it's not the first time. That just hide their weaknesses, right? I feel like this is not the first time that we heard Athena just maybe her promos are just not hitting with me. I'm not enjoying her work on the mic. I enjoy her in the ring. Why are you showcasing their weaknesses? It's your job as the promoter, as the booker, to highlight what they do best and kind of like, hide those weaknesses. So I don't know why we keep giving her a mic. I hated this. Another champ got pinned on TV tonight for no reason whatsoever. Oh yeah, there is a reason. There is a fatal 4-way next week because he all of a sudden remembered that he had no women's matches on Grand Slam. So there's that.
So again, here we go with that coexist word. Right. And then at the end, as you said, here comes Jamie out and takes the chair away from Britt, and you think there's going to be an interaction between them two, and she takes out Tony Storm with the chair and still trash talks Britt. So do you still have a problem with her? If you still have a problem with her, then why didn't you use the chair on her?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Again, the women's, they have the very slowly with Jade, and then she has that title, but Jade's even, I know they have a million shows. They have Rampage, they have Dark, they have Elevation. So I can't keep track of when Jade always shows up. I keep track of Dynamite. They protect Jade, but it's very slow moving. Britt, at one point, Britt was one of the most biggest reactions of any talent that walked through the curtain that they got on Dynamite, and they've kind of buried that lead. They have that, like, Britt's not like give Britt a microphone every week. She doesn't need a wrestler every week. Give Britt a microphone. People want to let her antagonize the crowd. Let her. I don't know why, and I think the water has gotten muddied because they brought in Ruby Soho, brought in Tony Storm, Athena, and it's like it feels like a quality over quantity issue here. I don't know. I'm so frustrated with the women.
That's where, right now that match, that women's tag match, unfortunately, was, if there was one time tonight where it looked like they tried to put 20 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag. Let's get all the women out there on TV.
Yeah, and then they just announced the match randomly without a setup or a storyline. Again, it was whatever.
Another super chat. Julius says Athena and, can you type Tony Storm? I don't know if Tony Storm? I don't know if he meant Tony Storm.
Tony Storm.
Is he trying to say that he likes Athena and Tony Storm?
Maybe.
That's what he wants to see. I think.
Okay.
Tony Storm taking that pin, hated it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, it is main event time. I'll come out right now and say this. This was the best part of MJF's promo was really good. This was the best match of the night.
Yeah. Definitely.
And to what surprise, this match, these are two guys who have main evented the biggest show. This to no surprise. Even though this is a rematch of what happened at All Out a week and a half ago, these guys can make it happen. The other semifinal match, winner's going to fight Moxley. It is Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson. Just lost my pen. Another pen. Here we go. Behind the scenes of the podcasting world. All right, another pen. All right, Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson semifinals. Fun fact here: Bryan Danielson, as a note, never has beaten Chris Jericho. That's fun to think about. Bryan comes out, and I mean, in the first 5 minutes, he is all over Jericho. I mean, it is just Bryan in full control here. Did you guys catch this? Was I hearing correctly that the crowd, after eventually at one point had a "Let's go, Bryan"? Was it Y2J? Were they doing a Y2J chant for Jericho?
Yeah, it was a dueling chance. Yeah,
That's fun. All right,
it is fun.
So let's go, Bryan A chant. The kind of the big turning point in the match was, and this spot always makes me cringe. So I'm glad that I guess A plus to them that they worked it into the match, but A plus to them that everybody seemingly was okay and is all part of the story. But they're on the apron. Chris Jericho overhead suplexes Bryan to the outside. Bryan braces and lands on his feet, but looks like he hurts his ankle. Commentary speculating. William Regal's going through the complexities and science of the wrestling shoe versus the wrestling boot. The shoe, of course, is what Bryan's wearing. Jericho proceeds to rip that shoe off. Now Bryan's just in a sock. We do the old Bret Hart to Shawn Michaels around the ring post figure 4 spot. Bryan lame duck tries to do his running knee. It falls into a Walls of Jericho. This looks like this is going to be it. Walls of Jericho then turns into a half crab, which is just wrenching into this injured ankle. But Bryan does not give up. Finally, Bryan does eventually rebound, counter, gets a label lock while ripping the nostrils of Jericho. Bryan gets the win via submission. So Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley, baby versus baby, Blackpool Combat Club versus Blackpool Combat Club for the vacated title. Moxley comes out, stares down Bryan and shakes hand, all while they are doing the money shot of their two challengers, and then the sign comes up from the front row of CM Punk owns the Young Bucks.
Oh my goodness! And that's the one time, and one time only. You go, oh, where's the WWE security when you need them?
Yep. I was like, is this
Steve Rubin would have had that sign pulled faster than you could have even believed.
Oh my goodness!
And Jimmy understands what I just said right there.
Yes, I do. Not only the sign, but that guy would have been.
That guy would have been out.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out too, because like you said, this was the best match of the night, and there were little subtleties in the match, not only with moves that they were doing, but even something like facial expressions when they did that spot where Danielson got hurt on the outside his ankle, and they were checking on him. They did a close-up shot of Jericho in the ring looking concerned. You know what I mean? Here's your opponent here looking concerned, and then Jericho turns it into the heel Jericho that he is and goes after the injured ankle. You know what I mean? It's just that little shot of him looking concerned, going, "Oh my goodness, what happened? I hope it's not broken. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I could take advantage here." You know what I mean? A little thing, but it meant something.
And real quick, because we're as critical as we are, let's be positive to the talent. Let's be positive. AEW, good catch on the director and the camera. Good catch on the camera guy catching Jericho, and good catch on the director taking the shot. And because Jericho could have done it, but if the camera and the director don't take it, it means nothing. We never see it. But good call on them that they got that. So again, let's give credit where we're as often as we give critique. Issa, your reaction to this main event?
I love this main event. I love this match. I love that the crowd was hot for it because at All Out they put on a banger and the crowd was kind of dead. They're probably exhausted. It was a long show and they fell later on in the card. I really enjoyed the selling of Moxley and of Bryan in the leg. I really thought for a second he was legitimately injured, and I bought all of it. Jericho continues to impress me, continues to just be so good at what he does. I'm very excited for what the finals are gonna be. Kind of thought this is what we were going to go with, but I didn't know they will go through all the way with it, exactly because of what you mentioned, Justin. It makes it interesting, babyface against babyface, like they're in the same faction. And for that reason alone, I was like, oh my god, is Sammy winning? Moxley was supposed to take time off. Is Jericho winning? The one match that I'm looking forward to at Grand Slam is definitely this match, and it's just because of these two competitors. They're just gonna go and just wrestle each other, and it's gonna be fun. I feel bad for William Regal though. Like he's gotta be going through it.
Well, baby versus baby, and each baby's from the same faction. Boy, doesn't that spell a certain recipe
Yeah,
for,
but
for
Moxley,
MJF and
got,
faction to come in, and you know, baby versus baby, MJF and faction can come in and burn the place down, and then the baby and baby that are in the same stable can fight. You know,
Right.
Moxley's got something to prove. When William Regal joined them, William Regal went on and on and on about how good Bryan is. And then he said, yeah, and I know Moxley a long time. Like, it's time that Moxley earns that Regal respect for once. Go Moxley.
Jimmy, who right now, and I mean this both from a consumer standpoint of, you know, year-over-year viewership is down. Not a ton, but it's down, and for a new company, you want to be gaining. It's down. We know the story of from a TV standpoint. You have a lot of big names that you don't have on TV right now. We don't know how we don't know for how long, and then internally to the company, you need leadership right now. You need stability. You need to get things on the right course. Moxley and Bryan both seem like they are. You know, they both are former WWE World Champions, and to the AEW diehards to get pissed at me saying that, it's relevant because you're talking about guys who have been world champions on a show and a company that has more viewers, so it's relevant. You have guys that have TV credibility. They also seem to have the respect of the locker room. They both go about the locker room in two different ways. In your mind, factoring in all those things, consumer and internal, if you're the booker, who do you have walk out as world champion next week?
That's a very interesting question. Yes, you know, if it's me, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but I picked Bryan Danielson because to me he is the better known. He is the not only amongst the are there casual fans anymore, but those who do watch both shows. Let's put it this way: they seem to be bigger Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan fans than they are Jon Moxley fans. And, you know, he is, like you said, a locker room leader. People respect him, and he does it in a quiet fashion. He's not, you know. Go ahead.
With all due respect, Jimmy.
Yeah.
No.
You can disagree.
Bryan has been losing all of his matches. All of them. Go back and look at his record. Bryan has lost all of his big matches on pay-per-view. He just lost to Jericho at All Out. It doesn't make any sense. And my theory is that this person is going to be champ for another week or two, and MJF is going to take him from them. Maybe even the night off. Is that how you want to crown Bryan's first title reign? No, if this is going to be a transitional champion for MJF, give it to Mox. He's already been there. He's already done that. And then give him his time off. He disappears from TV, and Bryan can chase. That's the ultimate baby face against heel right there while Moxley takes his vacation. Moxley.
That's a point.
Yeah, fair. And I know, I mean, there's a lot of logic in what Issa just suggested there. You get Moxley in this main event to draw for Arthur Ashe, but then you can get him out of it so he can go have his vacation and time off. And God, I mean, it goes against what Jimmy wants, but imagine if you do it. You know, Bryan's highlight of his career was the chase, right? And you know, in a different company, of course, but the underdog chase. Imagine the promos that, you know, MJF will have to mention the other guys, but imagine the promos that MJF could cut.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the Bellas, the John Laurinaitis, John Cena references. Oh my God, let's go.
We should. If all right, here I'm gonna say this because I will not be on next Wednesday. I will not be on next Wednesday with you guys. But after that, if that ends up taking place, if the fallout to Arthur Ashe is that, if it's MJF is a champion and Bryan is chasing, we, the three of us on the air live, will need to create a bingo card of what MJF will say in promos leading up to Full Gear. We already know there's Laurinaitis, there's Brie Bella, there's John Cena, Vince McMahon, Yeselmania or Yes Chant. We will have to create a bingo card collectively together, and we will do that.
Oh, he's going to talk about the Wyatt family too. He will bring it up.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that might be a deep pull. That'd be a pretty deep pull.
I know, but with Bray Wyatt's name still being a hot name out there that nobody knows what he's doing, it will be a nice way to squeeze him in there with his WWE references.
If this is what goes down in that form, we will create the bingo card on this podcast for what is going to be in the MJF promos leading up to their, we presume, Full Gear title match.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
I like
that.
I love
All
it.
right. Dylan says if Brian versus Mox goes under 10 minutes, MJF cash in. Yeah, I mean timing is a thing. They have a hard out of 10, so you can learn a lot by when they start a match.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing they need to work on, I think, at times where they have to stick to their times. So when the producer is talking to the referee in the ear, when they say go home, go home.
Go home.
Don't be me. Don't be like me at WrestleMania 4 before we had the earpieces in.
All right, so let's end on a story. So that was AEW Dynamite. It was what it was. We talked about it. It was not the most exciting episode. It was not the most satisfying, but it is where they are at right now, as they, of course, are just calling audible after audible after audible. We've dissected a lot. We go back and revisit.
Right.
I love to always pick Jimmy's brain with stories. Jimmy, you've told a story about the early Mania there at Trump Plaza. No IFBs in the ear. Can you give me one that you're willing to tell without burning bridges of having the IFB, Gorilla's telling you, get these guys out the effing ring, and they're not listening? Do you have a fun one there? House shows, not really, because house shows are kind of more lax. It's TV. The times are hard.
No, it wasn't really, ring the bell and get them out of there because of a hard time. It was that infamous APA versus Public Enemy match.
Save their lives.
Well, basically what happened was I had in my head what was supposed to happen in that match. So I head down to the ring because the referee's the first one down to the ring. Public Enemy comes down first, and they do their entrance and the whole bit. And next thing you know, here comes Ron and John, APA, and they don't look APA mad. They look Ron and John mad.
And
I don't know what happened.
They look bar fight mad.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Which I found out later. What happened was they were supposed to go over by putting Public Enemy through a table. Public Enemy, just as they hit the music and they were walking out, apparently turned to them and said, "Oh, by the way, we're not doing the finish," and then walked out for their entrance. So
proverbially, Public Enemy just pissed in their Jack Daniels shot.
Pretty much. And Ron said, "What did he say?" And apparently John said, "They ain't doing the finish." And then Ron said, "Oh, they ain't doing the finish." So they come down to the ring. Here comes Ron and John, and they just start beating the piss out of these guys. Like pounding the, So I instinctively ring the bell to start the match, and I'm waiting for the match to start. And I'm wondering, what the heck is going on here? None of this was, and then after a couple of minutes of this just mugging, absolute mugging, here comes Gerald Briscoe in my earpiece and say, "Jimmy, you may want to ring the bell and throw this match out anytime now." So I just, all right, ding, 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 ring the bell. And then, I didn't live in Pittsburgh at the time. I think that match actually was in Pittsburgh though. Might have been.
Yeah. So you go through the curtain. Do you remember anything about that? Like, do you remember Ron and John? Like you said, Briscoe's in your ear. Like, does Vince say anything? Like,
nope. It was just
like, damn, pal, way to let the murder go on out there. Way to let the assault happen.
No, everybody went back to Gorilla, and they were as Ron and John went back to Gorilla, they were waiting for Public Enemy to come back, and everybody was expecting to see maybe an altercation. And the craziest thing ever, the Public Enemy walks back, just like it was a regular match, walks by, shakes their hands, thanks for the match, guys, and they walk out, and we never see Public Enemy again.
That was the last match, right?
That was it.
And then they went to WCW, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Super chat here. Dylan says if Brian wins, MJF mentions Connor the Crusher.
Ouch.
Oh.
It's that's one I'd have to figure out where my line is. Having known Connor and his family and even helped in the process getting Connor introduced to Brian years back. That's not a toot. That's a moment I'm legit proud of for many sentiment reasons. I'd have a little bit of a line with that one. That's that's a deep pool, and we're talking about deceased children,
right? Yeah.
So I don't think
not a good place.
We don't need to go there. I don't think that's someone.
No.
I think the Bellas and John Cena and Laurinaitis is good enough for there's material there for a 3-week build.
That's fair low hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Bellas, John Cena, John Laurinaitis is a little tricky because I'm just speaking candidly here. For those who don't know, Bryan Danielson is married to Brie Bella. Brie Bella's mother was married to John Laurinaitis. I have no idea what the dynamic is after all this drama that's come out. So that would be a little spicy. But yeah, it's mentioning Cena,
It will
mentioning
be very
Brie.
spicy.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I want to see. I'm here for the messiness.
Issa wants the spice.
I'm waiting for
I
that
do.
A&E documentary. That's for sure.
Right. All right. We're an hour 20 in. You
Okay.
got your money's worth. It's been
Yeah.
fun. It's been good. Again, if you're listening or doing this on the delay, tweet all of us. Tell us where in the world you are, how you're listening. I always try to retweet, always try to factor it in. It's all good. Issa, give us the hard plug. What's going on with you?
NYC Demon Diva on YouTube. You guys can also find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also, Lucha Libre Online. So go give me a follow. Follow my Instagram too if you like.
Follow. Jimmy?
Yeah, you can find me here on Mondays and Wednesdays. And of course, during the week, you can get my ref and rants on all my social media platforms. And sometimes the Canadian heat magnet shows up, kind of like tonight. I'll probably get some heat for some of this critiquing we did of AEW from the diehards.
We always get heat. That's a
Yeah.
part of the job.
Yeah, I guess so. It's
The
cool. As long as it's in fun and you're getting your heat good when sometimes the talent reply to you. Let's just put it that way.
The ref and rant, the most controversial cup of coffee in the business. All right, I'm at Justin LaBar. Friday mornings, I'm back 10:30 every single morning. Sirius XM radio channel 156. You don't want to miss it. Every Friday morning. After that, I'll be back live in living color after Monday Night Raw with Jimmy and Jack. It's always
Triple
fun.
J.
Triple J. It trumps Triple H. All right, like, comment, share, do all the things. Thanks to her, thanks to him, thanks to all of you guys. We'll be back. I won't be here next Wednesday, but these two probably will. A lot going on in the wrestling world. Wrestling 24/7, all your updates. Be good, be smart, be kind to everybody.